Good afternoon. My name is Sister Roseanne Castilleja with the Missionary Quatermarian Sisters in San Antonio, Texas. I am here via Zoom with Sister Norma Pimentel. She is a religious sister of the Missionaries of Jesus. She serves as executive director and a licensed professional counselor for Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley in Brownsville Diocese of South Texas. She has received many awards over the years for her ministry in Texas with migrants along the U.S.-Mexican border. It is a great honor to be here with her via Zoom today. Welcome, Sister Norma.
Thank you, Sister Roseanne.
Sister Norma, can you explain to us what kind of ministry is being done there and what is your personal experience in ministering there?
Yes, of course. Here at the border with South Texas with Mexico by the Rio Grande River, we are very involved in the receiving and caring for the many immigrants and refugees that are coming to with hopes to enter the United States. And so we find ourselves our days full with making sure that the right care and attention and welcome is there for these families. And so this is one of the many things that we do, but one that really keeps us very involved presently right now and during these times that immigration and families coming to the border, fleeing their country, are finding themselves right here in our own community. And so we're doing our best to respond and care for these families.
Thank you. How has your experience been with the border patrols and police? And have they supported you or have they been a barrier?
Ever since the very beginning in 2014 that we started to respond and help the families that we were seeing here in our own community, Border Patrol came forward and worked with us and was willing to sit at the table and talk about what it is that we needed to make sure that we could respond to these families and best we could. And so we have always had a very good working relationship in addressing how they could better assist us so that we can be there for the families. And so we're constant dialogue and talking and meeting so that we can find ways that we are there for the families. You know, one of them is the fact that if they just drop them off without letting us know, we won't be prepared and ready. So they let us know before they make a drop off of families. They will also limit when they're going to drop them off. At least we try to make sure they don't go beyond 10 p.m. And we're always trying to remind them, and hopefully that is something they can do for us. So I think in great part, we have a very good working relationship with them. That we work this as partners. They do their part in enforcing and keeping the border safe and control who enters our country. They recognize that our part is very humanitarian and making sure that those families that they give permission to travel, to be in the United States, that somebody's there to help them. And so they recognize those two vital, important parts. And so I have to say that for the most part, most of the law enforcement is an amazing men and women that are caring and wanting to help.
Great. Could you share with us an experience that has impacted you?
Yes. Well, the fact that I work directly with families and children and moms, and they're all hurting in many ways. They've been through so much. It's really very inhumane conditions that they go through, and many of them having to wait in Mexico. And so I've accompanied them in throughout the years in while they do this. And so I have gotten the opportunity to get up close to them and know them personally and understand their struggles and their fears and all that they're suffering. And so, I mean, just most recently, we had a very cold time temperatures dropped significantly. A lot of people here in Texas were suffering because of the cold weather and the fact we lost electricity and things like that. And well, in Mexico, where the families were, they were in a tent, and with these temperatures, at least we were inside, but they honestly, their little tents were filled with icicles, and they were freezing. And a mom sent me a video of their little boy, not even 7 or 8 years old, and he was crying, till he couldn't. The pain was so unbearable that his feet were hurting so much he couldn't take it anymore. And the mom said, "Look at this, is my little boy. He's crying because the cold is just so much that we don't know how to keep ourselves warm, And when you hear this child cry, and it touches us, deeply, and just like that, they have experienced this type of extreme inhumane conditions that refugees have to endure day after day after day, and in so many circumstances. And so my heart breaks every time knowing the fact that they're having to go through all of this.
How has your journey been as an advocate, and what policies do you advocate for?
My journey, the fact that I'm able to accompany the families and be by their side and express the fact that God loves them, that God is with them, that God hurts when they hurt, and that we care about them, and we want to make sure that we can advocate for them, and hopefully that someday that they don't have to endure so much pain and suffering. And I advocate for policies that respect life, that respect the human dignity of a human being, and so I think that all our elected officials, our policies, and all our responses must be sensitive to the fact that they are people, they're human beings, they're part of the human race, and it is our responsibility to make sure that whatever response there is, it must be responding to and taking into account the humanity of who we're dealing with, and the fact that policies and procedures and responses must respect human life and be dignity of every human being must be upheld.
Definitely. If you had a chance to talk to our president, Joe Biden, what would you ask him?
I would ask him always to be led by in every response, not to ever forget that any laws, any decisions, how it affects human life, and must be always in consideration of the fact that whenever we have any policies or anything that our country does, it must be toward making the life of others, and not to hurt them in any way. And so I would always invite our elected officials, especially our president, to come down to the border, to have that personal contact, in direct contact with a family, with a child, with a mother, so that he can have that present in himself when he's trying to make decisions and responding to what is happening here in our country and all over the world. His participation in his response to all the things that will be handed over to him must be directly tied to his immediate contact with human life, so that he can better understand how it's going to affect this human person in any part of the world. And so I strongly invite him to visit directly with a family, with a child, with a mother who is suffering and is directly impacted by policies and laws and responses that he may have something to do with.
Yes. How have you been doing? How have you all been doing since this pandemic? And how can we help you in this wonderful ministry?
The pandemic has been a very difficult time in many ways. One of them is that it made it difficult for the refugees, the immigrant families, to continue their process to enter the United States. There was a stop put so that nobody could enter the United States. And then of course the fact that we have to be careful because the pandemic is a serious virus that could hurt us, and so we want to make sure that we do things right, that the virus not spread. So it puts added responsibility on us in making sure that families are tested, that families are set aside if they test positive, and keep them in isolation and care for them separately. So all of this is things that the pandemic has added to us, and also the fact that because of the pandemic, we don't have volunteers helping us out and responding and coming to be part of this response as we did before the pandemic. And so this is how the pandemic has put a hard on us. But what can we do? What can you do to help? Well, you can definitely come volunteer if you are already vaccinated and you feel certain that you don't have the virus. And you can be confident that the people that come to our center are also free of COVID because we test them before they enter our shelter. And so that is one way you can help. And also you could help by donating items, things that we always use, like basic hygiene items, needle milk for the children, items like that are so essential and that we definitely give to the families because they need it. They need those items. And when we get 100, 200, 500 daily, well, we may get a lot of donations, but they go fast. And so if you can just contact us and find out what are the items that we are needing, and so that you can go ahead and send some of those items to us, or you can go to our Amazon list and send some of those items. And our website, Catholic Charities, rgb.org. You can find specific ways that you can contribute and be part of this response. So I encourage you to look for us in the website of Catholic Charities, RGB, that's for Rio Grande Valley, and find out how you can help and join in this time of history where we are directly impacted by this human suffering of so many families, so many individuals that are hurting and that are here in our country asking for safety, asking for care, and we have the opportunity to do something about it.
Great. Thank you, Sister Norma Pimentel, and for joining us and sharing your experience. And definitely we will be letting other people know so we can be able to help you in any way that we can. And God bless you. Thank you.
Vaya con Dios.
Thank you.